I have officially caught up with Magi. Now, this is going to probably be a long discussion slash review on Magi. It's going to be pretty much my thoughts, my viewpoint, the events going on in the current chapters, and just talking about all the things I have went through while, reading this series. So, I just want to say, damn, Hakuryuu exposing Alibaba for his hypocrisy. I'm like, damn. 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 That was too damn good. Like, ever since the flashback arc, or no, I take that back. Ever since the Magnastrat arc, Magi has been absolutely brilliant since I've been reading the manga. Like, oh my god, it's been very, very consistent. I was told by a lot of Chibits that not a lot of people really like the flashback arc, but personally, I loved that flashback arc. Like, I felt like it should have been a lot longer, because the Alma Torann arc should have been a lot longer. It was a really good, engaging arc. I love getting to see this backstory and development and this info dump on the entire world of Magi. It really built up the world building of the series, and I personally loved that arc. It was probably one of my favorite arcs I have seen thus far from Magi in general. But I mean, hey, it comes down to taste, but I love the world building in that arc, and it was just the ending conclusion of that, oh my god, like, wow. When Shiba dies, that is so fucked up. Like, that is so wrong, man. Like Gyokuin, what she does to Shiba in that flashback, in Aladdin's mother, that is despicable. That is disgusting. It is straight up disgusting for what she did to Shiba. When she killed Aladdin's mother like that. And was like, oh, you should drop dead. In that smile. Speaking of the smile, what in the hell was with Gyokuin's freaking rape face? Like, oh my god, the rape faces I saw her use in the span of 20-something chapters. Like, my god. Like, damn. The mangaka of this series really loved that Gyokuin rape faces. Like, there was just so many. Like, you could fill up an entire, like wall with the rape faces she had. It was crazy. It really was. But, hey, it was fucking amazing. It was. So, the thing is, okay, Magi in general. I want to get into the actual topic of Magi before I dive into the gritty details of, this arc and stuff like that. Magi in general, it has been a very, very fun ride reading this. Like, it was really fun sitting back and reading Magi. It really was. And it's an entirely different experience than what I actually envisioned when I embarked on actually reading Magi and, watching the anime. I mean, now that I've actually started to look more into the details of different manga series, I started really noticing the potential and the greatness in Magi. I did. When I started actually reading the manga, started to see all these different foreshadowing points, it really started building up into a very complex story, and that's what I really loved about reading this. Like, when he got into the Magnastrat arc and got to find out about the magic and the different root types and stuff like that, it was just simply brilliant. It was. I loved how the mangaka dived into the magic. Like, the magic of Magi is really superior compared to some of the other shonen I have read. Like, the magic in the way it's described with the Rook and all that, and the flow, the endless flow and Desi and stuff, I just love that. I love the details. I love how the mangaka dived into the details of the magic system. It was really impressive when I saw that once again in the manga, the Magnastrat arc. I remember watching it in the anime, but I was able to really comprehend it a lot better in the manga, and I fucking love that. I really do. But the overall structure of Magi, what makes it really good is that it's different from the standard shonen. Like, overall, like, theme of the series is completely different from the normal standard shonen we normally get, and I really think that's what makes Magi shine so much, because the structure and the theme of it, I mean, it's so damn good, and the art style in of itself, it doesn't have the standard art style that normal shonen usually have. It actually has a slightly different art style, which makes it really stand out. Like, I mean, the art style in Magi is just simply gorgeous. It really is. I would be denying the actual art of this series if I said it was shit. It is really, really good. Through the course of me reading this series, the art style was very, very consistent. Besides the comedy segments that, were purposely put to have shitty art, the overall real serious moments and majority of the dialogue panels and stuff like that, they looked really great. They did. And so I have no complaints with the artwork. Like, seriously, I have to say, some of the artwork in Magi has to actually compete with Fairy Tail. Like, it does compete with Fairy Tail. And like I said, Fairy Tail has one of the best artworks when it comes to weekly shonen. But I will say, Magi definitely gives it a run for its money. It definitely does. Now, the thing is, okay, with the overall structure of the story from what I see, I love how, like, you have to where these people, these king vessels, are trying to come together and, become the one true king of the world, and they're trying to unite the world, and it's like Solomon's will, to have everybody that's equal with each other, and I like that. I like how the actual, series was building up to that point. And what really is engaging about it, makes me really appreciate the series a lot more, is the overall main in-game that's kind of been introduced recently but has been hinted at. For instance, trying to go against destiny, like changing destiny, or making a future to where you don't necessarily have a destiny, like your path is not laid out before you, but you can choose your own path. And Solomon's actual decision, what he made in the flashback arc, it was incredibly self-righteous. Like, I like what Solomon did. He sacrificed himself. After finishing the arc and seeing the standpoint of what Solomon did after reading past the chapter and, the discussion video I did earlier, a couple hours ago, pretty much now finding out that Solomon actually did sacrifice himself, and everybody is technically free, and everybody that was like a different race got turned into humans, that was really, really shocking. But what really got me is with how all my questions I had in my discussion video pretty much got answered. Like, why the language, like the Torann, language was only in certain parts of the world, and why it was there, and why is there only a unified language. I mean, we found out about a lot of this different information right towards the end of the arc, and I like that. I like how the mangaka really dived in to explain these details, and that's what really made me appreciate the flashback arc, because it was just great. It was. But it's not just that, okay? The end-game goal of the series, from what I could see now, is trying to figure out a way to where people can have equality between each other. Like, they can get along, and you don't have to where people are trying to kill each other to become, like, the ruler of the world and stuff like that, along with trying to figure out how you can deny destiny, but not deny the destiny. For instance, like, have a world where you control your own fate. And that's pretty much like slightly the in-game goal of Magi. Now, moving past that and talking about the details, okay? Hakuryu. Damn. His character. Like, I remember when he was first introduced with Zogan and all that. I remember the earlier parts of it. It was around chapter 80 or 90. He was introduced. And seeing how his character has evolved from that standpoint to where he is now in just these past, like, 20 chapters is mind-boggling. Like, oh my god. Like, I don't know if it was just me, if I was the only one that was thinking this when I was reading these chapters, but Hakuryuu really reminded me a lot of Sasuke from Naruto. I'm sorry, but he did remind me. But after his recent development these past 20 chapters, oh no, my viewpoint on him has completely changed. Like, he is not like a Sasuke ripoff. He's different, like, straight up. His warped logic and wanting to push aside destiny and destroy the world, like, damn. And here's the thing, okay? Diving into the mentality and the psyche of Hakuryuu, he reminds me a lot of King David. For instance, Solomon's father that Solomon went against to try to kill and all that. Well, he reminds me a lot of King David for what King David was kind of doing. As we know, in the past, in the flashback, you had to where King David was kind of forcing, the divine staffs, people like regular humans, using the divine staffs to, like, control the other races. And, brainwash them, make them, like, savage. That's what King David ordered. And if you look closely in this chapter, in this arc that's currently going on, what is Hakuryuu actually really doing at this moment? He is brainwashing people. He's doing exactly what King David did. So think about this for a second. If you think about that, it's really, really similar to what happened in the past. Like, the overall setup of this is really similar to what happened in the past, like the brainwashing and stuff like that. So, I'm noticing these little details, and it's incredibly intriguing, and it makes me wonder a couple things. Now, I'm gonna just make a quick theory here. I don't know if it's proven or not, or if it's been, theorized once before, but I really believe that Gyokuin is not dead. And I also believe that King David is not really dead either. He had more plans for Solomon in the past. He had more plans envisioned. He did. And he stored up magic and all sorts of shit. So I'm willing to bet King David is not really dead, or he's been reborn into something else. But regardless of that, I still think Gyokuin is not dead either. Like, I think she's still alive. Because the way she smiled when she exploded and tried to kill Hakuryu in the ending of their fight, it makes me believe she is still alive. I truthfully believe she is still alive, or some form of her is still alive. I mean, she is a Magi, so, I mean, she could come back, technically, if Ugo allows it, but, I mean, like, I highly doubt that. But still, the point I'm getting at is like, yeah, I just don't really believe she is officially dead, but we'll have to see. Now, moving into the other discussions, Hakuryu. The only thing I see happening in the future is Hakuryu dying. That's the only thing I see happening in the future. Because his recent development and the way his character has taken this, like, direction, there is no redemption that could really be possible for Hakuryu at all. There really isn't, for what he has committed and the deeds he has done. I personally don't believe Hakuryu is going to make it out of his, his current situation at all. Eventually, one day is going to come to where a character is going to come around and probably kill him. I sense that happening. I really, really do. And even though Hakuryu is this fucking strong, like, he's an amazingly strong person at the moment from what we've seen in these past couple chapters, I still don't think he could fight the entire world. Like, Hakuryu is, like, declaring war on the entire world. That's kind of what he is doing in these past couple chapters. And I don't believe he has the firepower and the manpower and the strength and all that to really bring down everybody. He doesn't. I highly doubt it. Even though he reminds me a lot of King David, even though he has Judar on his side that is incredibly strong and how it has an isolation barrier and stuff like that, I still don't believe he could survive the entire world. But, I mean, we'll have to see. The thing is, okay, what really makes these past couple chapters really amazing is just the actual inner monologues. Like, I'm loving the strategy and the tactics and how Hakuryuu and Judar are really getting more shine, like highlights in these past chapters. Like, Judar and Hakuryuu have been kind of shafted through majority of the manga. They have, because, I mean, if you go back to the earlier chapter stuff, Judar's appeared every so often, but he barely has any massive roles to play. And Hakuryu is kind of the same exact way. He never really had any massive roles to play until very recently. So I love it how the mangaka is taking the time to actually dive into these characters and trying to explain their motives, what happened in the past, getting to dive into their psyche and see what really motivates them to get revenge or destroy or whatever motivates them to keep their legs moving forward. So to see this development, it's really shocked me. Like, I'm loving these events in the recent chapters. It's been beautiful. It has. And I even love the entire aspect of how maybe even Alibaba might be brainwashed by Hakuryu. If that happens, oh my god, that would be fucking ridiculous. It would. And I could see something like that happening. Aladdin having to save Alibaba from a brainwashing. Oh, dude, that'd be badass. It reminds me so much of King David. Like I already said, it reminds me so much. Something very similar is happening here, and it's crazy. It really is. And then, moving on to the other things too, Morgiana, she's kind of also not really human, because we find out, other humans or other species from the old world, they all turn into the appearance of humans, and so Morgiana, she's actually not really a human, even though she looks like one, she's not. So it's incredibly cool finding out those little details too about that. So when she finally goes to her actual real world, like where her family is, we'll get to see her true appearance. And it's going to be incredibly weird when we finally do, when she, turns into a different being besides her normal Morgiana cute kawaii self. So it will be weird. Now that actually brings up to the next discussion I want to bring up. So it was hinted at and it was slightly discussed, but it wasn't really dived into deeply, and I feel like this is set up for the future of the series. The overall aspect of you know, Morgiana's family, her race and all that, in the other side of the Great Rift. Well, we find out by the Magi that watches over the Great Rift, he states that that world is kind of a lot larger than their current world they're in. And he has never really ventured far inside, so there's definitely going to be something else going on in that world later off and down the road. I'm willing to bet it. We also need to find out how Alphaman got out of their barrier, like when they were sealed. We still have yet to find that out. I don't think we have found that out for the course of this series yet. I mean, it was just told to us that they, like, got out, they were released, like, 1,000 years ago, and they started causing trouble and shit. And so, we really didn't find out how they really got released. That's another interesting aspect, too. And it also is never really explained how we have it where Judar actually got his third eye. Like, it seems he got a divine staff. It seems like Judar got a divine staff, but we don't really know how he got it. That's another question I have to wonder, too. So, how did he get his divine staff? Oh, yes, and another thing, too, like, there's a lot of details. Mogamet. Oh, dude, Judar's using Mogamet. Man, dude, that's fucked up, man. That straight up is fucked up, because I remember Mogamet, his last lines he said to Aladdin is figure out a way to turn the black rook into the regular, you know, white rook, for instance, Solomon's will. And to find out now that Mogamet's being used by Judar, it is extremely fucked up and ironic. It is. And I really feel bad for Mogamet. I mean, it's depressing as fuck. So we'll have to see how that goes too, but I feel like that's going to be one of the downfalls to Judar in the future, actually, because Mogamet was slightly resisting Judar a couple of chapters back, about 7 or 8 chapters ago, from the current chapter we're at. Mogamet was actually resisting inside of Judar, so clearly Mogamet, you know, is kind of retaining his sense of himself, and he's trying to fight back. So we'll have to find out more about that, but these chapters, in a nutshell, breathtaking, beautiful, badass, and I'm just gonna say it's greatness. It is. I have to say, I enjoyed reading this just as much as I did Taizai. And I'm not denying that. I'm really not. I had that much fun sitting down and reading this series. It was fun. I really recommend it for anyone that still watches if you've yet never actually started Magi. You really need to read this series. It is really good. It is worth your time. It is. It's definitely a series I would recommend to anyone that wants a different type of shonen. At first, it starts off as a standard shonen slightly, and then it evolves into something much, much more. And that's why I feel like this series is greatness. So, I'm going to end this here. I will see you all in the next chapter. I will start my actual weekly reviews of Magi when the next chapter comes out. So you all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.